Hey, good morning, everybody,
Seems
if you're
live.
in the States. But if you're up in Canada, also good morning. But we have a special guest today. I am speaking not just as the retail doc today, but we have Benjy from Display Equipment. Benjy, introduce yourself.
How are you doing, Bob? Thanks for this. I appreciate your time, and I know that you've made an effort to accommodate us with that time. I love the way you don't leave the Canadians out. That's very
Well,
important. Um, we're really grateful for your time because in South Africa, like the rest of the world, the last couple of years have been challenging. And I think that retailers are looking for, or need rather, a little bit of confidence to go forward with their plans. And they're really doing their best and doing the right things. And often just being patted on the back and being shown a few little things that they didn't notice possibly, and could help them just to move along nicely. And I'm hoping that's what we're going to achieve today.
Absolutely. Well, if you're just joining in for the first time, I always like to see who are you and where you're joining us from. So do type in below where you're joining us from. And I know Benjy has some questions, but if you have any questions for me at all, you can certainly enter them in and I will see them and we will go from there. And if you're watching on the replay, I also do that as well. So Benjy, what have you got for us? I'm in Florida today. I got my Florida shirt on. So what questions do you have for me for your viewers, your clients down there in South Africa?
So, Bob, what I'd like to say to retailers is they've got everything that they need right now. No one's at this stage trying to sell them new shiny toys and expensive things to try at this stage of the game. And we're saying you've got your beautiful stores and you've got your stock. A lot of effort and money has gone into planning what that looks like. And we'd like to say there must be some element of what's going on there that you can change a little bit, tweak, and improve your efficiency. Efficiency meaning more sales, right? And I think I'd hand it back to you. You've seen a lot of inefficiency in the selling process or the sales process. And a simple thing is, if a customer comes into the store to buy a product, is the staff member just going to say, sure, here's that product, cash them off, and they'll be on their way? What about an upsell? A simple upsell at a certain percentage. What does that mean to a store?
I can't disagree with all of that. It's funny. I was here. I just got I went into Starbucks to get my usual order. I usually get oatmeal and iced tea when I'm on the road. And I gave the guy my order, and he got flustered by the buttons. And then he came back. So, what did you want to drink? And I said it again. And then he started to type, and a little timer went off. And he came back. So, you wanted a venti iced coffee? I'm like, hello? I mean, I just sat there like, how do you navigate the world unless you're listening? So one of the things that we teach an awful lot with Sales RX and certainly with our role playing and mock sessions is, did you really hear what the person said? Because a lot of us go through and we hear a need and we jump right in, right? So it's like, do you have this black thing that does this? Yes. And then you go running over and you want to vomit all these features. Just stop, because there's probably a bigger sale there, right? So what questions do you have for me? And by the way, do type in and let me know where you're coming in for. For some reason, I'm not showing any on my side, but I'm sure you're there. So do me a favor and type in where you're joining me from so I can see all of that in the chat bar. So what questions do you have for me, sir? Oh, and by the way, give us some love. Give me some thumbs up. Let me know you're out there as well. All right, now you can go.
Are you seeing any feedback from
I'm
our
not, but I
side?
think
I'm
it's
not
just
able to
because of
see
it
the.
must be a setting on this. I'm usually on my in my home studio, so it's for whatever reason comments it
Okay.
says are you
Let me
won't
see
see.
if I
It
can
just says
deal
you
with
won't
it.
see comments today. So thank you very much, StreamYard. All right.
Okay. Let me try and see if I can add to this. If there's feedback, let me know and I'll cancel it immediately.
All right. So what questions you got for me?
Live video. There we go. Bob, one of the things that I thought of, I'm a salesman myself, and it's great to go through sales training processes, and you start off with being friendly and being trying to understand what the customer wants, not just to really hear them, not as you said earlier. How do you do it, and we started talking about this last week when we had that failed connection. How do you do it without sounding insincere? Do you really want to be every single person that walks in's friend? No, but you want to be friendly. But how do you do it without being or coming across insincere? Because a lot of salespeople that are prepared to learn, in their heart of hearts, they don't want to be insincere.
That's true, but the problem is most salespeople in retail are jaded. There's a great
Yes.
TikTok video, this young woman, and she does this spot on of a American retail, and it's like, "Hi, how you doing? Sale 20% off, everything in the back. Would you like me to start you a dressing room? Okay." And it's just so spot on. It's like, "Hi, how you doing?" And it's this robotic thing, which, if anything, you have to understand that the first time a customer hears your words is the first time they've heard it. It's the first time they had a thought like, "Oh, do you ship from home? Or you have curbside, or do you do special orders?" It's the first time. So to them, they're like, "This is a unique thing." You might hear it 100 times today, but you're an actor at that point, and shut the heck up and think what it's like when you go in and ask something. So if you're a guy and you're having to ask a question for a Victoria's Secret or something, it's for your girlfriend. You don't want to be made to feel stupid. So that's why in sales. And by the way, Debbie, good morning. I'm glad you're here from the Big Island, Hawaii. That's early this morning. Glad you're here. Is to realize that you just start off by saying good morning and then
What
shut
I'm
up.
hearing you say is follow the plan and get over yourself. Like
That's
don't
pretty much
get
Bob's
sucked
recipe
into
for
how you feel.
success. It's like a lot of times people say, "Well, I don't want to say that. I want to mix it up." Like, I don't care what you want, because it's the first time the customer heard it. And what happens when you just can force yourself to say good morning and bite your tongue is they'll say good morning back to you, or they'll say thank you. And isn't that a better way than, "Hi, can I help you find something?" "No, we're just looking." It's a terrible way to start a relationship. But what
So
I
just
teach
greet them.
is
Just say,
we
hi,
don't
how you
want
doing?
a transaction, right? What you want is a relationship they're going to come back to, and they're going to rave. And by the way, if you're getting anything out of this, please give some thumbs up. If you're on Facebook, if you're on LinkedIn, give us some applause. Francois, glad you're here from Massachusetts. And most importantly, type in where you're joining me from. That's really important. Hey, Kathy, glad you're here from Buffalo. Now they're starting to get us. So, Benji, what's another question you got for me?
Well, you told me a stat, and in South Africa or in Africa, we sort of say, wow, the Americans must have a crystal ball because they see it first and then it slowly filters through to us. You said to me that US retailers were reporting that 18% of sales were now originating online. And then you said, well, what's actually the story is that 82% of transactions are originating in bricks and mortar stores. Is that correct?
That's ripped right from Target's own financials that they shared just a week ago. So, what does that tell you? That the idea that the retail apocalypse is real and brick and mortar stores are dead, it's crap, even within a major big box like Target. So,
So
the money is yours to lose. Good morning, Ma from
yes.
Saudi. Glad you're here.
So if you get a person walking into your store, I mean, that's a huge asset these days. It's going to happen, but you've got to make the most of it.
Well, think about what it takes for you to leave your house today. If I need a HP cartridge for my printer, I probably am not going to go down to the office supply. I'm just going to order it online because that's all I need. However, if I walk into a store looking for that cartridge and you think that's all I want, you're in trouble, because we go online to buy, we go into a store to discover. And so if I'm buying a printer cartridge, I'm probably going to get the paper, and I'm probably going to look at maybe something else to go with it. And if you help me build that sale, then you're going to be successful. But if you think you're only in that cartridge and you're going to wait for the guy to walk up, "Do you have HP cartridge 64? I do. Let me get my keys to unlock the holy grail of cartridges. Oh, here you go. Here's your $30 cartridge. Anything else? No, that's it." And we let that employee feel that was the job. At that point, all I need is a robot. I don't need an
Yeah.
employee, and I certainly don't need someone that I'm paying now $15 and $20 an hour in the US and Canada.
Yes.
Um, if you're not adding to the sale, I think you're going to be in jeopardy. And I think in the next 5 or 10 years, we're going to see retailers actually paying a markedly higher salary for full-time position because it will be a skill. If you know how to do this and engage a stranger, you're going to be rewarded. And if you're going to say no, I don't have to do it, well, good. So you're going to be, customer service on some line for someone doing the same thing without the excitement of a brick and mortar store where everybody's different, right?
So professional money for professional salespeople. Correct. That's
Absolutely.
right. That's how it should
I,
be.
we have a we
I've
have a
got a
funny
difficult.
We have a funny question.
Yeah.
Somebody's asking me, I would like to discover where you bought that shirt from. I am a
Yeah.
Robert Graham aficionado, so check out their stores and definitely check out the one in Las Vegas. That's my favorite, my main guy I go to. All right. What other questions you got from me, Benji? If you're getting something out of
I
this, give me
would.
some love, give me some thumbs up. We got to know you're out there. Otherwise, no reason for us to
This
do
is
it.
this is a tough question, Bob. I may unseat you here. We have language barrier issues all over the continent here, and how do you overcome the language barrier when you need to make that connection? Do you have one, or is there two tricks to achieve this? Is it also just follow the plan and shut up, or is there more to it?
I do like follow the plan and shut up. That may be my new mantra, my friend. I would say it is always tough, but the one thing that we always tend to do, I know I used to work in Southern California and it's heavily Hispanic. It was when I went to high school, I was like, oh, I'll take French. What an idiot. So I'm there at South Coast Plaza, the number one mall in the world. And we have a lot of Hispanic guys and women coming in, and I don't know what to say. So, what's the first thing you do to someone that you don't know the language? We speak louder. Like, hey, what I'm trying. It's like, yeah, they're not deaf. They just speak another language. So, I always say, can you at least try to learn, two phrases in another language to show your willingness to try? I think that goes a long way. I think it's very hard if you're you're up in Quebec or in Canada, and you just say, "Well, I don't need to learn French." They'll have to do it the other way, or vice versa. It's like, well, you can do that, but when I was in Oslo, I was speaking there, I guess 3 years ago, Norway, and it's very odd because there's no signs in English. They don't speak English, and you really get the sense like, wow, this is a different world. So you walk into almost any store, and they assume you speak Norwegian, and they'll speak to you, and you just smile. And you're like, yeah, I'm from America, and boom, they switch and they laugh. So I think
Wow.
the attitude we have about it is just understanding we're all just trying to get people to understand. I may not speak your language, but the face tells a lot. And so instead of my
Right.
first thing is don't shout, and the second thing is just get at least two that you can say, and I think that people will follow you because they have the same problem navigating your continent as well, right?
Right. Yeah. Well, I'm not even talking about visitors. I mean, there's a language barrier inside the country.
But I mean, that's what I'm
But
saying,
I think,
that they
yeah,
all
yeah.
go through it, right? They go through it in their business probably and their families, etc. So, it's not easy, but, I think just trying is always helpful.
I like what you just said. Don't shout. They're not deaf. Exactly right.
But we all do it.
Um,
Just telling you, we all do it.
I wanted to ask, you know, I suppose bigger retailers want to understand if you were to look in your crystal ball and say to Southern African shopkeepers, what could they expect from the impact of an Amazon or an Amazon Prime um, if it was an aggregated sale, or what sort of online sales via an aggregated brand, or are we a long way off in South Africa? Are we hedged against those risks, or is it going to happen here like it happened everywhere else?
Uh,
And what can we do today to actually prevent that impact from being as heavy as ill-prepared first world countries were for it,
I'm sure you want me to
or first world
say,
brands?
"No, you're insulated. It won't happen." I'm sure you want
No,
me
we
to
know we're
say
not.
that.
We know we're not.
It's okay. Amazon's never coming. We can work in this
Yeah,
alternate universe, right? Like Putin is like,
yeah,
"Oh, hey everybody, it's not a war." Okay, right? At the end of the day, look, more and more, so many amazing technologies have come across that, one of the things that I remember 5 or 10 years ago, they talked about just the advances in the mobile phone and what that does for Africa, to be able to have people with banking, be able to transfer money, to be able to do all kinds of things. And now with solar, amazing, amazing. But it all runs on the idea that we're going more online for goods and services and information. So I think it would be silly to think otherwise. Yes, you could take stock in that most people want to go out and see and feel, but for replenishment items, right? So if I need this thing, which this is my clicker for a presentation. So if I need this thing, if I go into your store and no one talks to me and you don't add value and it's merchandised horribly, and you've cut all your sales staff and I have to wait for someone to wait, I'm probably not going to buy it from you. But here's the worst part. I'm probably going to go and open my phone and buy it from someone else. And in that moment, I don't come back to you, Benji, and say, by the way, just letting you know, I won't be back. We just don't come back. So the danger is that if you don't learn how to sell your merchandise and you don't learn how to create it from a transaction to a relationship, you suddenly are teaching your customers, who probably have the most money to spend, and they're your best because they're probably digital natives and they probably are using this more and more. You're teaching them to go online. So what's the bulwark against that? You make sure that it's an exceptional experience when someone comes in the door, that you understand when we walk into a store, we are in awareness. We know we wanted something, we don't necessarily know it. To expect that I walk into your store and I'm going to know exactly this is silly, because if this is the one thing, I probably bought it online already. But what I really need is I need something for my presentation. And if you just take a step back and say, okay, so why would someone walk into the store today that they're looking for that? Oh, they must be some kind of a speaker, or they're presenting, or I'd be curious about that. I want to build enough rapport so that they trust me, so that maybe I can have everything they need, not just the
Sell the
one
bigger
thing that
item
they
in
might be
future.
looking
Yeah.
for. And then I'm going to be able to have the ability to compare and contrast, instead of saying, well, here's all you need, and this is the cheapest. I start off at the top with like this version, which has its own battery and a lot of features that it has, but there's cheaper ones. And then I realized that, have you ever been in a situation where you're doing a presentation and suddenly, it doesn't quite work right? Well, we have a backup service. We have an online backup. Oh, that would be helpful. But if you take any of these parts away and you just want to start off with, hi, can I help you find something? Do you have a budget? No, I'm just looking. When they finally do get it, they aren't interested in what you have to say. And that's why they just want
Yeah.
to get in and get out. So I think behooves everybody, and that's whether you're here in the US or you're in Canada or in Africa or the UK. The days of expecting that a customer will wait for you to learn how to sell, wait for you to learn how to train, wait for you, they're over. So if I'm willing to roll the dice and walk into your store, it's your one shot to make an exceptional experience for me. And when you do that, I'm going to rave about you online, and then it's just going to feed itself.
Yes. It sounds like you are sold on the idea that your staff can make or break this for you. And the good news for South Africans is that, you put out these sales RX courses, which are consumerable, is that a word, across the world. So you can be there, and the staff here can learn from you. The good news is that there's a skills development fund in South Africa that the retail brands can actually claim from to make that training possible by you, making it cheaper for them, substantially cheaper. It's a huge discount, which we need because you charge in dollars, correctly so, and our currency is worth a lot less than 1 to a dollar.
So I want to just
And
unpack
so
that for a second. So notice they know the future is in learning, right? They may not know how to vet me or training, but they know that a more educated retailer is probably going to be in business longer. This is a thing that I run into when I see these people do makeovers in the UK of the high streets, and they talk about digital initiatives and they're putting digital signs and all this. Like, at the most basic, you've got to solve the problem. If 100 people walk in your store and only 10 convert, you've got a problem. If those 10 are only buying what's on sale, you've got a problem. I don't care what else you've got to do. Something is fundamentally wrong in your four walls, which is why if you can get the government to pay for it, man, that's amazing. Or pay for a
Definitely
lot of it,
is.
right?
Yeah. Yeah, for a big chunk of it, and it's valuable. So when you talk to South African brands, you should say skills development levy, skills development fund, put in the claim.
You're going to be introducing me to them, I think. So there you go.
Yes, we
Hey,
will.
Janet,
We
glad
will
you're here
certainly do
from
so.
Texas. Thank you. So, what other things are going on out there in the market? Are people worried about the war and supply chains? Look, the thing to realize is everyone's in the same boat, right? There's less labor.
Everyone's in the same boat, but that doesn't pay your rent. It doesn't pay my rent. If my neighbor also can't pay his rent, it doesn't help me. So I think people are looking inwards, and I think we've had such a plethora of supply chain issues over the past 2 years. This is just another one. Plus this latest lockdown in the Far East,
It's a
it's
big
it's just
deal.
another one. I mean, we had
Yeah.
that Suez Canal blockage, and then we had the computer systems going down at our ports at the same time. It was like it was diabolical what was happening.
But you know
So
what?
I
In
think
the
the
old days,
biggest issue.
Benji, do you know in the old days, we wouldn't have known any of that. And if you go way back, Londoners just got used to the Black Plague came through the summer. It was like, but there was nobody beaming it down. You're like, Black Plague is coming. We're all going to die.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
somehow we've evolved to become
Yeah.
who we are today. So I always say, turn off the damn news. If we've got supplies chain, but here's the challenge: customers don't want to hear you have a supply chain problem. All they say is,
Nobody
can you
does.
help me? Right?
Yeah. I've got some money in my wallet. I'm looking for product X. Can you help me or not? And if you can't have product X, you better be selling me on product W.
Yeah. And be
Yeah. Exactly.
creative. Right. Exactly. I know you want X, but maybe if we did this and this and this. And that's all we're really talking about as you started our discussion today. And I know we should probably be wrapping this up in a few minutes, but talk about language. All somebody wants to see is, are you trying to help me? If you are trying to help me, then I'll be patient, right? I ordered a table last, I don't know, November, and they finally sent me a text. It's going to be delivered on Friday the 18th. Great. But along the way, every 2 weeks, they sent me an email. Hey, it's not here yet. Just letting you know, it's not here yet. And and I think that's what we're trying to see for everybody, right? Like, we're trying to do the best we can, but make no mistake. We thought when the pandemic was over in the States, like, oh, it's over. It's like, no, there's always something worse about to happen, and we're going to just drum it into you, like Putin's going to kill us all, and COVID's going to come back and kill us all. And at some point, it just wears you down to a nub. So be careful of what you allow, because what comes in here, unfortunately, has a tendency to come out here. And I think we pull back and become fearful of other people that may not look or sound like us, or that don't ask the question the right way, or be that smart about what this thing is. And again, just to bring it full circle, anytime a customer comes in and has a question, it's the first time they think they're brilliant. They're the first time they've ever thought of this. Just pull yourself back and be patient. And if you have a sales process like SalesRx, online retail sales training program, then you're not going to get flustered. And you're going to realize the game of retail is getting the customer to say yes. It is not fulfilling what they asked for. So if you ask a question that can be answered no, looking for something special, no, you shouldn't ask that question, because retail is a game of yeses. Hey, Kathy, glad you're here today. We appreciate that. And Jenna is watching from Johannesburg. So there you go. Got some of your local
So
peeps on
I
the.
think what you're saying is correct. Don't get down on yourself. And we want to say to retailers, we want to do everything in our power. We're not here to sell them another set of hangers, another rail, another mannequin. We're here to say, hey, you guys already have the tools. Can we help you optimize or maximize what you've got and do more sales, put more money in your pocket for the future? Those are our customers, and that's what we want them to hear from this today. Thank you.
Good. So you have one final question for me.
Have I got one
Ooh.
final question for you? I
Just so you
think we
know,
covered
Benji
the
had
ones
like
that are.
100 questions he was going to ask me. And I was like, well, we aren't going to have that much time. So he's pared them down a
Well,
bit.
I'm looking for a question that's going to stump you, and I'm struggling to find that.
Well, we should all be on the metaverse. We
Um,
should all be selling NFTs in our stores. I'm sure that's going to make us a lot of
yeah,
money. That's what we should be spending our time on.
exactly. An NFT of a mannequin. We're ready for
That
it.
there you go. There you go.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I just what I was saying is we framed today's discussion by saying that it's clear that most retailers take exactly what they have, their store, their shop fittings, their stock, and they can make more money with what they have by simply selling better or by having their sales staff think differently. However we can make that happen, or I mean, just to try it and see what the benefit is on a month end weekend after payday, and you project your sales and then put some new platform in place for selling and then see what the actual results were. That I think will show straight away that you don't need to go and spend a ton of money on new shiny objects. Just take what you've
Right.
got and use it
It's
better.
being retail's always being brilliant on the basics. We just got a great testimonial from Hammett Handbags in Los Angeles. They've doubled their revenue in the last 2 years, and they've just raised
Because they
32 million.
bought SAP or bought some big piece of equipment to do so.
They bought SalesRx, and then they made that either you're going to learn it, we're going to hold you accountable, or you're not, and you're gone. But they've raised $32 million in the effort to go public. So you have to ask yourself, if you're thinking small, like I've got to hold on to, somebody was telling me on my page the other day that they were sad because they gave a 20% off a single item, and 75% of the people only bought one item. Well, of course, that's a terrible promotion. We have to get out of this idea of paying customers to come to our stores. When they're there, start at the top and think, what would be the best solution, not what you can afford. And, my last point here, Benji, is too many retailers know what something costs. So this costs, I don't know, $50. So they feel like a fraud if they sell it for 100. The reason you sell it for 100 is because it's got to pay for your marketing and your physical store, and that was your money sitting there for anywhere from 1 to 9 months. It was paying your salaries, your insurance, all of that stuff. So if you
It's not a
feel a
scam.
fraud, and that's another day's discussion, Benji, then this is never going to sell, and yet you bought it hoping it would sell. So the smart ones realize, if I buy this and I'm going to retail this as $100 or whatever it's going to be, I better be on my game. And that would be the last part that I would have for all of you, that you certainly can wing your way through it, but it's just a more pleasant way if everybody has a process to sell, to talk to strangers, to get them to rave about them, and to make the sale with the add-ons, and you're going to be loving life. But if you're hating life and you're worried and you're afraid, then you're going to have a dialogue here and say, well, what has to change? Because the market's not going to change. Consumers are not going to change. The war's not going to be over tomorrow. Panic, Wuhan closed down is not going to change. All that can change is you. That's all we're responsible for. And I appreciate all of you joining us here across the world today. Benji, I appreciate you asking me to do this live with you. How do we find out more about you, Benji? Where can they go?
www.display.co.za.
All right, there you go. And if you got anything out of our conversation today, enter it in the comments below. What are you willing to change? What are you willing to give up to have a successful retail business in 2022? Because the reality is there's still trillions of dollars of people with money to spend that they have been saving. They're just waiting for the right opportunity. Are you going to be the one to do it, or is it going to be a competitor? You decide.
Thanks, Bob.
Wait,
I
Jenna has
appreciate
one
your
last
time.
question for me.
Ah,
When you say start at the top with regards to selling products, won't that scare customers away with the expensive prices? I don't know, Jen. I don't know what you sell offhand, but if I was selling a sewing machine and you waited for the customer to say, I want that $30,000 machine, you're going to wait a long time. It's going to be that person who maybe, like my mom, who was used to this old cast iron Singer machine that couldn't do anything, and getting the wow and the excitement is going to happen at that most expensive machine. And if it freaks them out, you go, oh, well, you know what? We have this one that's a little lower priced. You lose the ability to do X, Y, and Z, but it's still a very good machine. Oh, that's too much. Each time you're taking away, because anyone who is excited about a product will move heaven and earth to get it. But we don't excite customers anymore. We try to just fulfill orders. And if you are determined to be a brick and mortar retailer, then you need to find a way to get excited about the merch you carry or get the hell out, because we don't have room for that anymore. Bland and boring retail has been taken up by a lot of the big stores, right? It's just a bunch of merchandise. We don't need more choice. What we need is passion in retail. So find it, follow me, do a good job with down there where you're in Canada, you're in the US, you're in Africa, or across the world, but it's yours to lose. Customers want to support brick and mortar, but they're not willing to pay for a crappy experience. So thanks again for joining us today. Thanks again, Benjy, for joining us. And we're going to end our broadcast now. Tell your friends you can do this. Thanks so much. Bye.